Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, July 19th, 2018, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Our guest today is Ellie Curie. Hey Ellie, good to see you.
Hey Dan.
And Ellie, gosh, I've known him, I think more than 5 years or so. It's for a long time. So it's good to see you, and I don't get to see you that often because you're actually in Lebanon and just outside of, I guess, northern Beirut, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, so we don't see each other in person too often. So it's actually good to see you today.
Good to see you too.
So Ellie is the founder of Dermander, and today we're going to talk about the VR kit, whatever that is, and we're going to talk about the 360 Visit app. We got a lot to cover. And it's about how, for, I would say, maybe for less than $100, $100 US, that you can create an amazing 3D tour, a 360 tour, 360 tour, and be able to create it, view it, and share it.
Correct.
And we got a lot to cover. And but I thought before we jump in with a demo, Ellie, perhaps you could just talk about your background a little bit, because I know you're not old enough to be the founder of 360 photography, but you certainly are one of the pillars in the community of going back historically to the roots of this space. And I thought it might be nice for you to talk about Dermander and your app and some of your history. Just we kind of set the scene, so when we talk about your expertise and what your kit does, that we kind of have your street cred set up.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I've been doing 360 things for 10 years, I would say. Before I was also in the image space and virtual reality, video games at a certain point. I had the chance to work on VR at its very early stage in 1994. It was on Silicon Graphics and very expensive headsets. And I started Garage Mode in 2008 on Dermander. That means all around, by the way. And we got funding in 2010. We launched the iPhone app in 2011. This is when we communicated. I think you were at Tourist, I think.
Yeah, so it would have been something like, that sounds right, maybe about 8 years ago. So, and so how'd your app do? You had an app that created all around 360 photospheres. How'd it do?
Well, when we started, it was a cylindrical capture only.
Okay.
We have made 10 million downloads on iPhone, Android, and even Windows Phone. Very small amount of downloads on this platform. Well, but mainly iPhone downloads, because the built-in capture of the iPhone limits to 270 degrees. So people are still getting the app on iPhone. I'm not even sure that there is a built-in panoramic capture on iPad, but anyway, our app is also for iPad. On Android, we got downloads as well, but though we had the trouble to get it working on all these different Android. Until 2018, there are still Android phones that don't have gyro sensors, whereas all the iPhones have gyro sensors. You still can get a phone with not even a compass on Android. So this has limited a bit, because we rely on sensors to get all this 360 stuff being stitched as fast as we want. We don't want any progress bar or anything. So this is why we rely on sensors. So we don't do blind stitching. We know roughly where is the phone located. So we're able to take advantage of this and have a faster stitching. We do every processing on the GPU, so it makes low consumption of the battery, fast processing, instant result. But we were still doing cylindrical capture until 2016. We started the research for the spherical stitching in 2015, mid-16. But until now, if you download the app DMD Panorama, It's a cylindrical stitching, very high resolution. I mean, we got a clean result, high resolution, crisp, but this was our flagship, and it was limited to cylindrical. To get into the spherical stitching, we faced two options. Option one is to go through what Google Street View is doing, or even Photosynth, rest in peace. So the multi-row stitching. We thought about it, and we believe that the multi-row stitching, even though it can produce a very high resolution result, it puts a lot of, it requires a lot of effort from the users. And most users have difficulties just to complete one turn, asking them to complete a second and third, and even more, because potentially you need 5 rows to complete the whole sphere. Well, it was too much to ask, unless you're very, enthusiast about what you're doing, which is not the case of the math. So this is why we thought that having a clip-on fisheye on the phone would allow to get only one turn and spherical output.
You sound very methodical about this. You must have been a math teacher.
Correct. I studied robotics, and I also studied math, and I taught math for 7 years, roughly. And this is how I got my colleagues, my employees in Dermandar, because through teaching math and computer science in university, I was able to select some good guys.
Good. Well, thank you for taking us through that, because I think what that says is 8 years of creating panoramic images using a smartphone for capture. And I think it's probably suffice to say, of all the different apps in the space that have tried this, yours is absolutely, DMD absolutely has been the best at completing the loop and having stitching be amazing, where you don't have artifacts that you figured it out. And I think that kind of sets the scene for today, because you've taken that knowledge of 8+ years in order to create not only the next generation of app that you're going to talk about, but also the hardware in order to have a kit of everything you need for less than $100 to do this. And I think really the great place to start right now is, since I've never been to northern Beirut and I haven't been to your offices, maybe you could give me a tour showing us kind of what the final version of a tour looks like, and then we'll talk about how you got there. So can you give us a tour?
Yeah, let's do this. So I need to share my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
See if I can do this. Share screen.
So if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV Live at 5. Our guest today is Eli Khoury, with the founder of Dermander, and he's going to now give us a tour of his where he is right now in Beirut, in northern Beirut, Lebanon.
So we have a lobby here with a nice aquarium. So the fishes don't move because this is a photo. We can have a look at the nadir, where you have reflective sphere that is automatically generated. And then we have the spots. So here you have the chairs, the orange chairs. The one I'm sitting on is this one.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful lobby.
Thank you. Let's get out of the lobby. So here you go. There is a view here. You can see Beirut now here on this is the Mediterranean Sea. Let's get a bit here. You have some nice grass. And here also. yeah, let's stand in the middle of this small garden with the palm trees, olive tree, and here there is a giant screen where we were able to look at the football games during the past few weeks.
For us in the U.S., that would be soccer for the World Cup. Yeah. Okay. Football. Okay.
And this is the Bay. So I'm in the Bay Area. This is, yeah. So this is my, it's not the office. This is where, this is my, where I live.
Okay.
During summer.
It's beautiful. And I think what we're looking at is actually two things that are beautiful. First, thank you for the tour, both of your space of where you are, but also a beautifully created 360 photo tour. And this is a new platform. So how about talking about what are the tools that you use to create this?
Sure. So, of course, the basic component is the 360 camera that allow to create every spot, every place. And then there is a tool to do the connection. Of course, we have the online viewer. That is the additional component. So first of all, we need to create each of these images. So first of all, in terms of quality, we were trying to get the DSLR quality, but of course it's a smartphone at the end of the day. But if we compare this quality with a 360 camera that comes at in a dual lens setup.
Well, even before we get to the other lenses, let's talk about how you did this and then how that compares to other devices. So, so I think what you're starting to talk about is this 360 tour was created with a smartphone.
Yes, correct. And with an additional hardware that is a fisheye lens that you clip on the phone and a rotator that allows to spin the phone very precisely.
Let's take us to your website so we can look at the items as you describe it.
Yeah,
so essentially what you're talking about is the VR kit, which comes with, for under $100, comes with the following.
Correct. So first of all, you have the rotator. The rotator, so there's a small tripod that comes with it, but for this tour that you've seen, I've used a monopod that allows to put the rotator at eye level. The phone at eye level, the rotator would be a bit lower the eye level.
Okay, so the VR kit comes with what's called a tabletop tripod. That's what that rotator's sitting on. And at the bottom of that rotator is I would say a consumer grade place for a consumer grade tripod to attach. Correct. And frankly, you can use a professional tripod, but you need a little adapter to go from the larger mount to the smaller mount. Okay.
This is correct.
Yep.
And there is a phone holder on top of this rotator. The phone holder, this one, the one that you can see on the picture, is perfect for iPhones because the idea is when you put the phone, you need to have the lens, the phone lens, that is aligned with the center of the spinner in a way that the lens stays always on the rotation axis for limiting the parallax issues.
So let me take the case off, and I think that's what you recommend is take the case off your iPhone for the best results. So that's where my camera lens is, and I think what you're saying is, okay, we're gonna use the lens here, and the rotation needs to rotate from here. Yep. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that right. From here, not yep. From here, because the lens is right here.
It's correct.
Am I doing that okay?
It is okay. So we need here. Yeah. So we need to hold the phone with a phone that is offset, off axis. So it means that we need a very good way to hold it because a 7 Plus or an 8 Plus is heavy enough that it requires a good holder like this one.
This is an 8 Plus that I use. Actually, I think when I was working with an earlier generation of the VR kit, I might have used a 6 or 7. Yes. But the VR kit holds this, which is nice.
Yes. Now, yeah, it's this rotator, the one that you have on the website, work with all the phones now. We have the old one, the one that I've sent you a few ones before. On the website, it's still sold at a discounted price. We call it here the 2017 edition, this one. So they look the same, but this one was Bluetooth 4. The second one is a Bluetooth 4 firmware. So it works with all the phones that have a Bluetooth 4 component. The iPhone 8 Plus is a Bluetooth 5 component, so you require the first one that is a bit more expensive, but this comes with the Pro Kit, and the Pro Kit has 3 components. So the rotator that works with all the phone, a fisheye lens, that is the one I'm going to talk about, and VR glasses. And the 3 together, yeah, they are compatible with all the phones now.
Okay. Do you have a close-up on your website just of the lens?
Yeah, so I'm going to...
Well, while he's doing that, I mean, I think one of the things that I would point out is you say, well, no, well, we'll hold off that. We'll talk when we get to 360 cameras. We'll talk a little bit about that. I don't see the lens.
Yeah, so the lens is...
Great.
This one is the best one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a 360 fisheye lens. You want to talk a little bit about your lens? Because I think you probably have obsessed on getting this just right.
Yeah. This is the 3rd generation of lenses. The same for the rotator, is the 3rd generation. So this fisheye lens is, well, if I say the best one of the market, of course, it will raise some doubts on anyone that comes and say that anything is the best. But we have tested all the lenses of the market. We have tested them all. We've seen what is good for the technology of capture, because I mean, it's not thought for capturing 360. These clip-on lenses are made to capture one fisheye image. I don't know why you would do it, maybe for some artistic effect, but basically the fisheye lens on the market are all made to capture one image, and that's it, and a nice wide-angle image with some distortion. This one was thought to capture a 360 image, multiple images. In fact, we need 9. Well, we could do it with 6, but we found out that 9 is really the best number.
So, you're stitching these together, and so if you get 9 images going around in a 360, then somehow you figured out what the sweet spot is in each of those images, and have the overlap to stitch them together.
Yeah. You might have less, but finally, with the fisheye lens, we go to select the best pixels in the image, and the central pixels are the best. And in the center of the image, the lateral are a bit distorted, a bit blurry. So this is why 9 we found is the best trade-off.
And whether you have an iPhone or a smart or a Samsung.
With Samsung we go up to 11 or 12 images, because the Samsung usually, not all, for the S9 is a different story. They use a narrower sensor. The iPhone is a 4/3 sensor, and most Android are a 16/9 sensor that is narrower.
But the point is that the iPhone it clips right here, and maybe on some other phone it might clip for down. Yeah. The lens is down here, so that's why we see that long clip. Even though for an iPhone person, it's just going to clip up at the top. And the fact that I have a dual lens, that your lens deals with all that.
Yeah, here there is an articulated piece of element that allow to keep the lens right in front of the phone lens, even with very difficult configurations such as the dual lens as well. And of course, we have tested some phones that have a lens that is very far from the edge, and this size of clip is good for all the phones.
Okay, so why don't you take us off of this screen and maybe take us back to your 3D tour?
Yep.
Because I think, I suspect if I looked really, really, really close, I still couldn't find any stitching errors.
Okay. So this image is 8K resolution. It's 8,000 by 4,000. Making stitching error would be hard because we are rotating around the nodal point of the phone and lens, of the lens. So if you compare to a 360 camera, that is a one-touch 360 camera, there's no way to physically put the two lenses or more, essentially more than two lenses, in the same physical point. So you end up with having to do some distortion, optical correction, optical flow correction to be able to adjust. Because physically, you have two lenses that are separated. In our case, we have virtually 9 lenses because we take 9 shots, but they are all in the same spot in space. So it helps. So in fact, mathematically, we have less trouble because we are removing the parallax that is hard to stitch.
Mm-hmm. So let's look up top.
Yep.
To the zenith. Okay.
Yep.
And have you touched this up in any way?
Oh, yeah, there is a tiny point here.
Okay.
So I will tell you how to get rid of this tiny point. The rotator, if we look at the rotator here, this one. Yeah, so the holder is tiltable. So you can tilt it up slightly, 5 degrees or 10 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And this will cover, because the fisheye lens that we have is 180 degrees, exactly 180. So if it's tilted down a little bit, we would lose 1 degree on top. Tilt it up 1 degree and we get this.
Okay. And I know we're obsessing over something incredibly tiny. I would say, good enough is good enough. Perfection is like, okay, how many people are going to look at the sky other than maybe you and me and some other photographer and have a long debate about this, but completely solvable. Tilt the what do you call that part to the
nadir?
No, not the nadir, but on the rotator, there's the piece that holds the phone, the holder.
The holder, yeah.
The holder. Just tilt the holder will tilt it
upwards.
5 degrees this way.
Upwards. And then what will happen that you will have the zenith closed and you will have a larger hole on nadir, which will cover the 3 feet of the tripod. Because if you look at the nadir now, the patch, the automatic patch, the chrome sphere that I'm patching inside the app is not wide enough to cover the 3 feet of the tripod. So having a tilt of the phone holder of a bit more, here I haven't tilted it. So if I had tilted it a bit more, I would have a larger chrome ball on the bottom, large enough to cover the tripod feet, and it would close the top.
Okay,
a bit better.
So let's take us back. Just give me one tour of a 360 around, just a nice as we go around here. Okay, so what? Don't even need to go there. Just right there. Let's stop for a moment and say the VR kit has 3 things. I guess I would say 4 things. One, it says the rotator, the tripod legs, it's got the lens, and then it's got the VR viewer. So it's got 4 items in it. Yeah.
The viewer is, of course, there is a local viewer inside the app, and there is a web viewer. But
not a viewer, a VR viewing device.
Glasses. Yeah,
glasses. So there's 4 pieces of stuff that you get in this kit. And in fact, while we're on there, if you stay tuned later in the program, we'll tell you how to save 10% on the kit. So stay tuned for that. I want to say, okay, so that's kind of the hardware piece, mashes up with the smartphone. What app did you use to create the tour that we were just looking at? And maybe take us off screen share if you would, and we'll have that discussion.
Okay, sure. So basically, app that comes with the kit is called the VR-kit as well. And
So excuse me, let's just take us off screen share at the moment. It's up here. Stop sharing. Good. All right. So Ellie, what app did you use to control the rotator, VR-kit rotator?
Yeah. So the VR-kit comes with a free app that is called the VR-kit as well. And this app, the VR-kit, allows to use the VR-kit hardware to generate a single 360 image. It's a vanilla app. It doesn't have any feature more than capturing a single 360 and export it to the camera roll. So you can consider the VR-kit app as a 360 camera, finally. It has some maybe features that is good to highlight. It has the HDR, the multi-bracketed capture HDR that is built inside the app. And it's able to communicate with the rotator through Bluetooth. No need to pair the app with the rotator because the pairing is automatic. And it controls the rotation, the stop, the capture, the 3 brackets capture, the 9 group of 3 images, and the stitching. And the whole process takes 25 seconds. Rotation, stitching, and
I think I actually have a video of that. If you don't mind, let's see if we could actually just go play that. So that someone could take a look at it. Now I'll run that video on my end. You give me a moment. Let me cue that up.
It's a 1-minute video. Yes.
I'm looking at the 3-minute version. Is that okay?
The 3-minute, it's a bit long because there's an interview as well.
Okay. Which page do you want me to go to, or can you get to that screen?
Okay, it's a maybe 3-minute. Let me check the duration. No, well, you have a 53 second.
Yeah. That's the other one I was looking at. Let me see if I can call this one up. You'll probably beat me to it though. Are you able to get that?
Yeah. Do I send you a pay?
No. So just go to screen share, but just go to screen share. And then you can play it. It'll probably buffer a little bit, so you might want to hit the play button first, and then stop it, and then pull it back, and that way it won't. Because of our internet connection from Atlanta to Lebanon and running a video, we got a lot going on here, so I don't want to have it pause on us. And then maybe just resize it. Just resize the screen, bottom right of the YouTube video. Make it go full screen.
Okay, you want yeah. That's full screen is my.
Yep.
Oh, the whole screen is shared. It's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is not in Lebanon.
Great. You need to take it off screen share. So I think what you were able to show us there was in that case, you had the VR-kit rotator, the holder for the phone, the smartphone. You attached the fisheye lens, and forgive me, you launched the app before turning on the VR-kit rotator. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So there's an on-off button. I think there are some different fisheye lenses. So if you're using this one, is it going to default to the right lens?
Yeah, well, by default, we were putting the cheap lens. It's called the 160, but we're going to provide an update where it goes to the Pro one, because we noticed that the Pro lens is more common than the cheap one. We thought that people will just come take the starter kit and then later on get the Pro kit, but everyone is buying the Pro kit.
Okay.
So we're going to default. Pro lens.
So it happens that you have a couple lenses, and the Pro Kit is sold with the 180-degree fisheye lens. So essentially, you turn on the rotator, or you've put your smartphone into the rotator. You've added the lens, the fisheye lens.
Well, better to put the lens first. Then I mean, it's more practical just to put the lens on, just to make sure you center it, and then you can just put the phone and screw the phone holder. Yeah.
Okay. Point taken. Because I've done this myself, and I think it's just easier to put it on and then to look through the phone and make sure that you actually don't see that it's misaligned. So you want to know that it's aligned correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The circle, the fisheye circle, should be neat. Otherwise, it's blurry, and then you end up with blurriness also in the picture.
Yeah, I think it's like this. I've hidden a part of my eye, and it's immediately apparent that something's hidden or it's clear. And so you have to just kind of tweak it a little bit until it's in the right spot. But
we'll end up making a phone cover with a screwable lens, just for make it perfect every time. We are in the process of doing this.
Okay. Terrific. But in the meantime, you take the VR kit, which comes with the rotator. It came with the little tripod. You saw the lady in the video just put it on a counter on the ledge. Added the lens to the phone, put the phone in the holder, launched the app, hit the button, and it just sat there and it rotated and it created a sphere.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so why wouldn't I use one of the one-click 360 cameras that are out? Yeah. Why would I want to use my smartphone and rotate?
Yeah, true. So first of all, you have this HDR stuff, but HDR can be also done maybe in conjunction with other cameras as well. You have the output resolution, that is the 8000, 4000, the 8K resolution. You have the 9 virtual lenses instead of 2. It's always better to have 9 lenses instead of 2. I mean, it's obviously because you have more sharpness. You have the dual lens system, the quality is not even. You're always better quality in the middle on the axis of the lenses, and the lower quality in the perpendicular axis. The fact that if you want to upgrade your phone, you can always use the VRkit anytime. Better camera means better pixels, better images. It's not the VRkit that limits the quality. It's your phone. You can upgrade your phone. You already have a great camera. Why you want to buy another one? The fact that you don't want to have too many electronic things to upgrade. Upgrading a phone is expensive enough. Upgrading the 360 camera is also a budget. Maybe I forgot another. Well, if you want to record video, the 360 camera might be better. So this is rather a photo kit rather than a video kit.
So for me, this felt a little counterintuitive. So it's kind of exciting to be able to say I counted, I think, 7 reasons that you mentioned, which essentially all equal quality. So shooting 9 pictures around ending up with 8,000 by 4,000 pixels. How much of a 360 one-click camera would I have to pay in order to get that level of quality?
Yeah, correct. I have another reason as well. Just thought about it. That if you are capturing photo and you don't want to be inside the picture, you can just rotate with the phone. Otherwise, with a one-click system, you have to find a place to hide.
Okay.
Well, of course, you have your shadow. This is why usually I go to capture in sunset, close to sunset, just to prevent having my shadow also.
Shadow. Yeah. Obviously, the beautiful tour that you were showing us was the magic hour for light. I'd actually add probably another reason is it's one less thing to carry. It's one less thing to learn how to use. I already know how to use my iPhone, and I like having my images stored on my iPhone. So the fact that I can carry, I guess the expression is that because some might even say, well, why not do this with the DSLR and a, and fisheye lens? And I think about, I travel, and it's not practical for me to take all my stuff with me all the time. I know my wife and I went to Nashville, Tennessee this year, where I just brought the VR kit, and I did bring a professional tripod. I didn't have to, but I brought a pro tripod, and it's just less stuff to carry, and still took a 360s, multiple 360s, a very nice suite we had in a boutique hotel in order to tell a story of where we stayed. So I'd add that. So I think I heard maybe 8 reasons. 8,000 by 4,000 is a result of 9 lenses, HDR, the sharpness, because you're taking the sweet spot out of the best possible spot in each of those 9 images. As you upgrade your phone, you're essentially upgrading the quality. So if I'm upgrading my phone every year, every 2 years, then I just get that much better quality without having to buy yet another 360 camera.
I have some other reasons that I've just thought of now, but I will let you finish the list first.
What did you come up with?
Yeah, I came up with other reasons. One is the fact that there is no parallax, since the phone is rotating and the lens is staying at this place. So there is no parallax. So we don't have to fight to remove the parallax. There is no pixel processing or distortion to remove the stitching errors that usually all the cameras have to do, because multiple lenses that are not in the same physical point requires optical flow or just correction of the stitching. So you end up with some.
Let me see if I can translate that. If I'm taking a picture with something that's very close to me, and I have, I'm using a one-click 360. I'm sorry, over here. If I'm close to something, the 360 camera is likely to have trouble stitching the images together because of this, whatever this parallax thing is called.
Yeah, but it will either make it good at close and bad at far distance, or the opposite. It cannot solve both a scenario of close and far together at the same time.
So if I'm using the rotator close to something, I'm not going to have the issue of that bad stitching, and the backstory is related to this parallax error stuff. But the point for an everyday person is to say, if you've ever looked at something that had bad stitching, that goes away, because when it rotates around, you're taking so many pictures, you're not going to have that issue, and you're right on the nodal point, or whatever that is.
Yes, this is correct.
Okay, so did you come up with another reason?
Yeah, you can use the VR kit as a handheld also capture. Just if you don't want to have the rotator in your pocket because it's too big to stay in your pocket, you can still have the fisheye lens in your pocket. And then on the go, you can just clip the lens and rotate as you would rotate with the MD panorama. And I mean, it's nice to have on the go capture as well. And if in this way, you are never in the 360. If you really want to be inside the 360, the one-touch 360 camera are perfect. But if you don't want to be there, don't want to have this big hand inside the capture, you can just rotate and get one nice.
Yeah, I would say for most of our audience, it's really doing spaces, residential real estate, commercial spaces. Something's tight. You're probably not going to stand in. If you're going to do it for a living, and you're dabbling in this area, that maybe this is your first entry into this 360 world, you're probably going to have a tripod and a rotator. But that said, you go on vacation and you're in Paris and you pull out your smartphone and your fisheye lens, and you can sit there and just rotate around and end up with a nice 360. You wouldn't, I think, do that in a closed space, but in an open space, you'll, I'm sure, have no issues with stitching at all. Yeah. So let's see, upgrading the phone. Every year you probably get a better camera in your phone just by upgrading, or whenever you upgrade. Better pixels, because I think you were talking about you're always taking the sweet spot for the purpose of the photography.
Yeah, it's correct. I was picking the best pixels of the image, since we have a lot of overlap.
Carrying fewer devices. staying out of the photo, not having the parallax, distortion, and I'm sorry, I missed the last one. VR, I guess, was the fact that you could do it handheld.
Yeah,
and be out of your picture.
Yeah, last but not least, but something that is, I mean, it's not here, but it's coming. It's that we are going to provide the 3D capture as well. I mean, the 3D 360 capture. That means having the ability to get not only one image, but two, one for the right eye, one for the left eye, by just replacing the phone holder with another phone holder that we are now designing, that will allow for the appropriate offset to get in one turn, and always when 9 images, we're not going to take 18 images, but we're generating the dual left and right. It's going to be a top-bottom stereoscopic 360, so 8K by 8K. So
well, that's crazy. I've been lucky enough. I mean, you know, it for most of us, it's kind of magical putting on a VR viewer and looking at a 360, or, you know, walking through a 3D space. But when you actually see it, are we talking about stereoscopic?
Yeah.
Yeah. When this is one of those things you just can't explain to anybody. But when you're in an experience that's stereoscopic, that's when you start wanting to reach out and feel like you can touch stuff, because it really is. It's crazy. So very exciting to hear you're moving in that direction. Now, I think what we've covered is the VR kit and the stuff that comes with it, and the VR kit app. But we were actually doing a tour, and so how did you put that tour together?
Yeah. So this tour was made with another app, and our intention is to release many apps using the VR kit. So like the Motor Galileo, if you remember, the time was.
This is MOTRR.
Yeah. So Motor
Galileo, which was a wonderful rotator.
Yes, indeed. But it was limited to iPhone. It had a non-universal holder, so every time the holder changed the shape, they had to run to provide the adapter, and it had many apps. It had like 15 apps, maybe compatible. So we have the same intention, is to provide many apps that are compatible with the VR kit. As example, let's mention some examples. So the VR kit, of course, the vanilla one. 360 Visit, the app that allow to create 360 visits. And we have 2 other apps that are in the pipeline. One that will follow the face and allow to record a selfie video, and the phone will always be following the face or the body to be able to record the choreography, for instance. And another one for video conferencing, where the phone will always face the person that is talking, if multiple persons are doing a conference. So following the person that is talking at every moment around the table.
Very exciting. So you buy it for one purpose, but then you end up getting a number of other potential use cases for it.
Correct.
You buy an iPhone for making a phone call, and then you realize there's 1,000 other things that you can do with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So 360 Visit is the app that is going to be available on the 1st of August.
That's August 1, 2018. And the 360 Visit app, that is your app.
Correct.
And that's the numbers 360 Visit, VISIT, all together, 360 Visit.
This is the name of the app. As for the website, it will be 360viz.it, as in Italy.
That is cool. 360, the number 360, VIS.IT, which spells out 360 Visit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your app. And is that an app for capturing, creating, viewing, and sharing?
Correct.
360s?
Yeah.
So does that replace the VR kit app?
Not really. There are a lot of differences. The VR kit allows to capture and save to the camera roll. That's it. And the VR kit app requires the VR kit hardware. 360 Visit can be used without the VR kit. It can be used handheld and without a fisheye lens. You can just capture cylindrical like DMD panorama, cylindrical, handheld. Then you can add hotspots, and you can connect multiple panoramas together, and then you share, which is something that you don't have with the VRKit app. The capability to share, you can sign up to, you need to sign up to share, then you get the link, then you can use the link, you can put it in an iframe in a website. There's optionally, you can buy the VRKit if you want to get spherical capture. If you can just buy, of course, fisheye lens, and you can also add the rotator as well. So this tour that I have shown you was made with the whole Pro kit, with the fisheye lens and the rotator. But with the fisheye lens, you can have also a 360 tour, maybe less precise because you will be just rotating by hand, and you might introduce some errors if you're not very deep, if you're not focusing on the way you rotate. But still, I mean, if you're visiting a shopping center somewhere and you want to make the 360 tour, you can just do it with just a fisheye lens. We have recorded that we have monitored that we need 2 minutes roughly per spot. So it means the tour that I've shown is a 12-spot tour. It took 24 minutes roughly. You have the time to walk between a point and another. You have the 25 seconds for the rotation to happen. You have also around 30 seconds just to put the connection inside the app between every point and the other. So you say, okay, I'm in the point A. I would like to add a spot through this opening, this door or this window. You long press on this region, the spot appear, and then you have the choice in the menu, either to capture a new panorama or to connect to an existing one in case you have, because you can either capture, then connect, or capture, connect. You choose. You might just want to capture and then go and sit somewhere and just do the connection instead of doing the connection while walking.
So that's awesome. I'm thinking, oh, I got to go create my 360s. I got to move my 360s from my smartphone to my desktop. I got to open some desktop. No, this is the 360 Visit app. First, lets you capture in conjunction with the VRKit. Is that correct?
Or not. You can
or
just
not.
do it without
But I still, with the tour that you showed us, did you capture that with the VRKit app, or did you capture that with the 360 Visit
360
app?
Visit. Yes, 360 Visit. I used the VRKit hardware.
Use the VRKit hardware. Okay, so you use the VRKit hardware in conjunction with the 360 Visit app that will be commercially available August 1, 2018.
It's a free app.
A free app, and you use that app where you calculated for your 12 spots that you did your rotation, that it took 24 minutes, or to divide that by 12 was 2 minutes a spot, which included the 25 seconds for it to rotate and the setup, the takedown, and to walk to the next spot.
Yeah. Correct.
And did you create the tour within the 24 minutes?
All includes, I mean, everything with the upload time as well, and getting the link, all together, 24 minutes.
So the app is now connected to the cloud.
Yeah, to upload to my account. Yes.
Okay. Does that cost anything?
No.
Okay.
No, it's all free.
Free. Okay. Free. So essentially within 24 minutes, you were able to create a 12 scene 360 tour, all linked together, and upload to get the link to now share that with anyone that you wanted to share it with.
Yep, correct. And
that's crazy. You should be so excited here. Why you're not jumping up and down? Because you're this is like Ellie, you've created magic that with less than $100 in hardware, and most of us would have the necessary tripod, that we can now create a 12 scene tour in 24 minutes and be sharing it. So that's pretty disruptive if you're in residential real estate or commercial real estate and someone else is taking an hour and a half to do 1,000 square feet. just to capture, then to upload maybe take 5 hours to wait for it to process, then have it come down.
Pay for the cloud as well.
And pay for the cloud. That all of a sudden that someone comes along and says, oh, I can do that tour and deliver it to you in less than a half hour. We're done.
Yep, correct. To perfect the VRkit hardware, we noticed that you should take like six scenes first, and then starting the 7th one, you start really getting the best results. So I would say even in terms of progression and learning curve, also we have something that is easy to use.
What do I learn by shooting the 6? What is it that that I didn't know on the first one that I know on my 7th one?
For instance, centering the fisheye lens on your phone. This step is going to be removed by making a cover with a screwable fisheye lens. But I mean, still, it requires just a bit of precision to center it. Yeah, just to make sure that the lens is centered with fisheye lens and phone. So in our FAQ, we show how. I mean, you can just make sure because.
Okay. What else am I going to learn by shooting 6? Shoot 6, and then I'm up to 100%. I'm a professional.
Selecting the 180 fisheye lens, because by default it was the 160. We had this trouble with a few of our users. This is why the next update will just have the 180 as default. Centering the lens over the rotation axis, making sure that you're not offset, because we give you 2 phone holders, one for Android and one for iPhone. For the Android, since the lens is rather, most of the Androids in the center of the phone, you don't have this issue. So we give you another phone holder that has a U shape in order when you just screw it, it doesn't press on your home button. That's which is like, okay, you have to press back to come back to the app. So having just this small, tiny thing set up.
And to know to shoot vertical, not horizontal.
Yeah, sure. And having your tripod at the right level. Pressing the screen. You shouldn't be worried about pressing the screen and moving the phone, because when you press, you're going to move the phone. When you press, it's not going to take the picture. It's going just to make the first 40 degrees turn, then the first capture happens, then 40 degrees, second capture. And when it goes back to this, the initial position, it will take the last shot. So when you press, it's okay if the phone moves. You shouldn't worry about it. You have also to train to rotate around the phone while it's rotating, just not to be inside the picture, making sure about your shadow, or simply go and hide, because it's when you are going to press, it's going to start shooting in the opposite direction. So you have time just to walk, simply walk, to hide, to prevent the shadow. If the shadow is in the direction of the capture, because it might happen that the sun is behind you, your shadow will be in the first shot. So it's better just to start capturing in front of the sun. And if you are in the HDR mode, you shouldn't worry about the exposure, because sometimes you want to start the capture in an average exposure, not in front of the sun, laterally. But here you are in HDR, so anyway, we're capturing 3 shots: high exposure, low exposure, and mid. So you can start capturing in any direction. It's okay. So basically, we're removing the photography skills from. I mean, I'm sorry for the photographers. We're not trying just to remove, but just to make this technology available to everyone. So it's, yeah, there's no skills involved anymore in terms of how I'm going to try to capture.
Well, I think in the process of democratization, which is fantastic, for less than $100, you're off and running, any consumer using their phone. That said, I think those of us that are professional photographers will always find how we add value to the process, and whether that's using the 360 visit platform, or then saying, we can take those 360s, we can put them on iStaging. We're going to use that platform. We're going to use 360 tours. We're going to use a number of other platforms of how we share our tour, how we annotate our tour, what other value that we can add to that. So I think there's actually a lot of room for professional photographers to add to this process, but at the same time, may actually be offering a higher end solution, if that's what we can call it today, for a 3D tour walking experience. But for a house that that doesn't have the size commission that might require in order to pay for that 3D tour, that this may be the opportunity for a photographer to say, hey, I have a solution for you. I can be in and out in a half hour, and I can charge you, far less than if I did that other solution, whatever that other solution is. Incidentally, I mentioned eye staging. They got a rotator that looks just like yours.
Yes, it's correct. So eye staging is one of our major partners and technology licensees. And this is the same technology.
So congratulations, a major license opportunity with eye staging. Incidentally, I think at the end of the show, we'll also give you some special information about eye staging as well, a special offer for We Get Around Network members. And I could imagine that you're also licensing, doing this white label with other companies as well.
Yes,
that
correct.
Any to talk about today, or just assume it's coming?
Yeah, we have started licensing the stitching technology since 2012. One of our first clients were 360 Cities. Unfortunately, they have removed the app from the store. It was one of our first kind. Another one that is also maybe known is cycloramic, the phone that would rotate by itself by vibration. They were on Shark Tank. So yeah, we had
Bruno's done quite well for himself, and in fact, we up until recently worked out of the same co-working space in Atlanta. So very exciting to see where Bruno is.
And Bruno is now in the car capturing technology. Would like to mention that the VRkit is well suited to capture in very narrow spaces, like for instance in cars.
Yeah, Bruno, are you watching? Bruno, hello, Bruno. 360 cars, what he's working on. In fact, I think on your website, you do have an example of a 360 with a car. Is that something you could pull up for a moment?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's a really good example. We have many members in the We Get Around Network forum that have bought a Matterport camera, and they're determined to take that Matterport camera and somehow jerry-rig it to take a 360 inside the car. And I'm banging my head because I'm thinking, no, that's not the right tool for taking a 360 inside of a car. And I'd love to have you show, because I think the example that you did is not only is it inside the car and there's no stitching errors, it's also shot with HDR, so it looks nice outside the windows just as it does inside the windows. It's beautiful.
Yes, I'm going to open it now.
Yeah. I'll send a note to Bruno, let him know we mentioned him on the show. He ought to tune in. It really is. It's an amazing example. I think even professional photographers that use a DSLR and a fisheye lens and a special rotator, would have a hard time accomplishing what you've accomplished, with the rotator. So be good to take a look at one of your car examples.
So this is the example. This is the large chrome to cover the nadir. Which is interesting to notice is that here you can see me here through the window.
You did a 360 selfie, but I think that nadir patch could be either the photographer's logo and website, or it could be the client's logo and website. Or it could be that mirror ball if you want to see what the roof looks like by looking down to see up.
So I'm focusing on the details here. And I would like to mention that for the background, you don't see me anymore because I have just removed the background in Photoshop in this scene through the windows in a way to replace the outside by any 360 environment. So if you look at the chroma, you have the real environment where there is a forest here and I'm standing. And here you have the outside environment that was changed. So what I did in Photoshop is that everything that is visible through glasses were replaced by chroma, green information. Then I could
so this was actually done with chroma key. I was thinking this was the natural shot.
Yeah, and I have reverted the mirrors as well. I have made two chroma, one for the mirrors and one for the.
But I would imagine your shot would be just as beautiful with the HDR, and a lot of us would say that's good enough. If I was a used car dealer and I wanted to take a 360 inside my car and I went out to the lot, that I could go do a ton of cars during the day and have them look nice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's take us off that. So on the we were talking a little bit about iStaging and that they're one of your clients, both for your software and for the rotator. Are there other rotator announcements of licensing?
The people who are, yes, there are, but the people who made the licensing deal with us are not on the market. They are still integrating the technology and adding. So you cannot, I mean, they will not advertise any soon. Maybe after 3 months, they will start.
Okay, so stay tuned. We get around that work forum. We report, but I think it'll actually be pretty obvious because you'll go, wow, we just looked at the VR kit. Now we're looking at this other kit, and it's got somebody else's logo on it. But now you know who's actually behind the scenes with the software and with the hardware that major resellers. So you also are enabling anyone to either. Essentially, you're happy if they go through iStaging. You're making money, and you're happy if they're just ordering the VR kit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so on the 360 visit, I want to say on August 1st, 2018, that's in the Apple iTunes Store. How about Android?
Yeah, so we're going just to get the first feedbacks during 1 month, and then we'll just very fast implement on Android because the engine is already running on Android since, for instance, iStaging or any other person who is working with our technology has an Android. And of course, the VRkit app is running on Android as well. So it's not about a hard conversion. It's just converting the UI. So it's going to be a very fast conversion, but we are going to wait a bit for the feedbacks just to make sure we're not fine-tuning two things in parallel.
Okay, so if you have an Android phone, certainly no later than December 31st, 2018, likely much sooner than that you'll also be able to get the 360 Visit app for Android in Google Play that will enable you to capture, create, view, and share a 360 tour.
Yeah, and of course you have the cloud that comes, and the cloud has been there since 2010. We have millions of 360 images that are on this cloud. It's the website, the dermandar.com. If you open it and you check
that's DERMANDAR.
Yes.
.com.
Yeah. So then you can see all these geolocated spots on the map on Google Maps, and there are millions of these panoramas that have been served since 2010. So we're just using this platform, this technology, to put the tours on. So 360 Visit will communicate with the Dermandar back office servers and clouds.
But I have a choice, so I can have those 360 the equi-rectangular JPEG, the 360 photosphere, the panorama, whatever you want to call it, ends up on my smartphone. And so if I want to use that 360 with iStaging, with 360 tours, with other platforms that host 360s, then I'm free and clear to do that using a free 360 visit app to capture, or with the WGAN-TV-theVRkit app to capture.
It would be better to capture with the WGAN-TV-theVRkit app, because the WGAN-TV-theVRkit app is to capture, is made for capturing. 360 visit is for capturing and connecting. So if you have connected, I'm not sure that other apps will be able to read our connection information.
So can I use the 360 visit app to capture a 360 sphere that ends up on my camera roll?
Well, you are asking great question. So we thought about it, and then we thought that if someone is using 360 visit, it's not for this purpose. It's better to use the WGAN-TV-theVRkit app if your purpose is to get the output and then connecting through another platform.
I'd like to have a choice, and that way I only have to use one app, and so it gives me the ability to do both, which is to save it to my camera roll, but also to create a tour. So,
okay.
I'll give you that user feedback is that's personally what I would prefer, because then I don't have to think, oh, am I going to do this with 360 visit, or am I going to do that? Or maybe I'd still like to create the tour with 360 visit, but then for some reason my client says, I really want those 360s because I want to use this other platform because there's something else. So anyway, just in terms of, okay, thank you. What else did you want to talk about?
Do you think that showing the 360 visit video is a good idea? It's I think 3 minutes video.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. And then I think after that video, while you're queuing it up to play, in fact, while you're queuing it up, I'll talk a little bit about a special offer we'll wait for the video. After the video, we'll talk about special offer on the WGAN-TV-theVRkit to save 10%. We'll also talk about a special offer on iStaging to get 4 months free of iStaging. We'll find out after the video. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Our guest today is Eli Khoury. He is the founder of Demander, and one of his products is the WGAN-TV-theVRkit. One of his software apps is the 360 Visit app. It launches on August 1, 2018. 360 Visit as one word, and you'll be able to see the website 360vis.it. 363, the number is 360vis.it, and all kinds of apps that we've been learning about that are coming, that will let you do conference call, let the camera follow you while you're speaking, all kinds of interesting, just extra stuff that's coming. I'm just stalling a little bit so that video kind of buffers a little, so that when we start watching it, it doesn't start stopping. So I love that. Follow the face, video conferencing. I asked the question. Let's hold off playing the video. Eli, let's take it back to the beginning for a sec. Let's take it back to the beginning. And is there any sound on this?
Yeah.
So in order to get the sound, I didn't show you how to do that, but let's close out for a second. And when you go to share screen, there'll be a little button at the bottom that says use the audio from your computer.
Okay.
Okay. So close. Now go slowly. When you go to share screen, look for two buttons. One is optimize the size, and one is to play the audio from your screen, from your computer. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to the videotape. That's great. If you can take us off screen share. So that website's up and running now, yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we just saw the 360 Visit app for capturing, creating, viewing, and sharing 360s, and you can visit 360 Visit, the dots between the VIS and the IT, as in Italy. And so I think just to sum up here where we are, if you would like to save 10% on the VR kit, it's $99, free shipping to most places internationally, but you can save another 10% if you're a We Get Around Network forum member. Just as soon as you join the forum, WGANforum.com, you'll automatically get a welcome email from me, and you'll get the code for saving 10%. If you're already a forum member, just simply private message me, and I'll send you back the code for the VR kit. And then second is the iStaging, which uses the Demander technology and uses the its brand on the VR kit that we've been watching today. For We Get Around Network standard and premium members, you get the free use of the first 4 months of iStaging as a WGAN standard and premium member. Doesn't come with the rotator, so you'll either need to buy the rotator from iStaging or to buy it from the VR kit. And the website for the VR kit is thevrkit.com. thevrkit.com. Great. Ellie, anything to add before we take off?
No, it was great. It was great. I think we're really covered from all the angles, the situation, with no stitching issues.
We covered a lot of ground, and I thank you for breaking the news of the 360 Visit app platform on WGAN TV Live at 5 today. Ellie, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Dan.
We've been visiting with Ellie Curie, the founder of Demander, and a couple of his babies, which is the VR kit, available solely exclusively on the VRkit.com website, and also the leading the team creating the 360 Visit app, the 360 platform. And for those of us who've been in this space for quite some time, a founding father in the 360 space. And even if you've never met Ellie before, you probably have used one of his 360 services, which has been operating behind the scenes. So I'm Dan Smigrod in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, thank you, Ellie. And thank you all for tuning in. If you missed any portion of today's show, we have been recording it. And by tomorrow, Friday, July 20th, 2018, we'll place it in the We Get Around Network forum so you can get caught up watching it. Thanks again for tuning in. And we appreciate you watching WGAN TV Live at 5. How about a thumbs up? We got to get a little screen grab here for our YouTube channel here. Okay, hopefully YouTube will find that. Terrific. We've stopped the recording.